My secret to making ribs is the Instapot. So this went from me making ribs that took like 12 hours to it taking less than an hour. We're gonna cook them in the Instapot, but I have some secrets that I add. But we're gonna talk about some pantry items real quick that I had. For the rub, this recipe is for 1 rack. I ended up with 3 racks of ribs, so I ended up tripling this. We used 1/3 cup of brown sugar. I used monk fruit and molasses and made my own brown sugar. 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of ground mustard, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of celery seed, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, or a little bit more if you like it spicy. Mix into a bowl, spread it evenly on the rubs, and let it sit for at least a half an hour before you put it in the Instapot. I bought this apple cider at the produce stand last fall, and when I was looking at it, I knew it lasted all the way until this fall, so I thought it was a great thing to have in the pantry. It's a glass jar. And then when I realized I read the label wrong, and it actually said October 22nd, 2024. So it's really good for almost 3 years since I bought it, which is really cool to be able to have that. Once I open it, I would keep it in the refrigerator. Since we probably won't be drinking a lot of apple cider right now, I think I'm going to end up freezing some of this into the super cubes, little silicone little squares, and put them in the freezer, and then I can throw them into recipes too. So we'll have that available for us in the freezer. And then apple cider vinegar, I always have it on my pantry shelf in our food storage. And this bottle I had bought probably a year ago when I was stocking up on them, and it doesn't expire until 2026. So when you buy a bottle of vinegar, it's going to last unopened like 5 or 6 years on the shelf, which is nice to know when you're planning ahead for things. And then in this recipe, I'm going to use liquid smoke. Since I have allergies and I'm really picky about what items I use, I make sure to check the brand and check what it was made with, the ingredients. So make sure that you find a safe liquid smoke if you're going to use liquid smoke, but you can totally do the ribs without it. So I have my Instapot here, and in my Instapot I have a trivet, which is really important. So when we're putting this in, I have honestly never ever measured this. I normally just pour it and do all the things. So I'm going to try to measure this just so I can be able to tell you, but I make sure that the liquid doesn't go too far above where the trivet is on here, and the liquid is what helps make the pressure in the pot, which will help cook the meat. So the trivet goes down, and then we want the liquid just to be right above where the top of this part of the trivet is. So I think it's going to be about 2 cups of apple cider. You could use apple juice too. This is just what I happen to have. I'm actually going to measure it and not just dump it. And if I feel like it needs more liquid, over 2 cups, then I can just add some water. And then I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I did shake this up already. This is with the mother. So just gonna pour a little bit in there, and then again with the liquid smoke. So about 1 tablespoon of both of these. I did 2 cups of water, or 2 cups of juice, and I'm going to just add some water. So I just want it right above where that rack is. And then I have my ribs soaking, or they're marinating over here. They're on these trays. I don't want them to drip everywhere. But this huge Costco pack came with 3. So for the Instapot, I can probably put 1.5 in each of them. So I'm going to do 2 rounds of this. So when you pick them up, one way they'll bend, the other way not so easy. So you bend them together and they'll go in. I'm just going to do 1.5, 1.5. I could probably fit 2 full ones in there. Anyways, before we did the rub, Mike took the membranes off, and we have a little snippet of that video. Sometimes your butcher will take the membranes off, pulling that back on the back side where the bone is, and that helps them fall apart easier when you go to eat them. So I'm going to wash my hands. All right. I don't have a plug-in that reaches right here, so I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do. But I'm going to put the lid on, and I'm going to make sure that is on the sealing side, not the venting, the sealing. And then I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to hit neat for high pressure for 25 minutes. Then I'm going to let it naturally release for about 10 minutes before I release the rest of the steam. And that's the step. There you go. That sounds good. So the cook time finished 20 minutes ago, but we were doing other things. So this means that it has been sitting here releasing for 20 minutes, but there might still be pressure in this. So I always use a spoon and I grab the handle up here and I move it to baking. So even with 20 minutes, that's still how much pressure was there. And then when this gets done releasing, this little thing right here pops down, and then it's safe to open up the lid. So there's a safety mechanism on it that you can't open up the lid until that pressure is done. Learning how to use the Instapot is a great first step to learning what pressure canning is. You don't pressure can in this, you pressure can in a canner, like an All-American 921. But it's a great way to learn about releasing the steam and how hot it can be and the pressure that the lid can build up and those kind of things. So if you're nervous about learning how to pressure can and already using Instapot, you're already halfway there on knowing how to do it. Having ribs in my freezer, being able to pull it out whenever is such a treat for us. So during the summertime, I try to grab a couple extra and throw them in the freezer, and then I have them whenever. During the summertime, the prices are the best that they are all year long. So make sure when you see them on sale to grab them and save them for another time or eat them right away, whatever you want to do. This is the homemade barbecue sauce that I made, and then we're going to put it on here. I always do the rib side first, or the bone side first. I like the silicone brush because it comes really clean. I'm just gonna do a little pour. So I'm gonna broil this on this side for 4 minutes and watch it, and then I'll flip it over and I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll baste it with the barbecue sauce and then I'll broil it. So all the little crevices there. Sometimes the bones just fall right off and I'll just throw those away. Okay, then I'm just gonna flip these and add sauce to the other side. In this time where we're not used to having friends over anymore since the pandemic, it's just such a great thing to be able to have ribs in the freezer that you can make easily, or just go and grab them at the store when you want them. But to be able to make a dinner easily and feed multiple families is amazing. So the day that we were cooking these, I was able to send dinner home with 2 of the team members. So 3 families had dinner for $30, which is just so cool. It's pretty neat to think that you still can invite friends over and have dinner even when grocery prices are high if you do a little planning beforehand. So grab some ribs, grab some corn on the cob or some baked beans and watermelon. Have everybody bring 1 item if you need to, but join around a table and start celebrating again and enjoying having your friendships and your family around.